and let the live stream begin, and then we're going to dive in, everybody. Welcome to Mondays. Should be a good one here for us. All right, you got it? Excellent. You're seeing feed? All right. Well, Keeg is here with me, everybody, and she'll be on YouTube. On the YouTube, she'll be on YouTube. Give me any comments, questions, anything that you all have as we work our way through there. So she is live with us as we work our way through. I am Robert Linkle, owner of trainingtheolderadult.com and the Director of Education with Fit Body Bootcamp. Thank you all for being here with us. We have Whiskey also sitting by with Keegs and I. And we are going to introduce our first TOA live stream on the lower back. But first, we have a quick little ad read from one of our brand new companies we are partnering with, Brightside. Brightside is a really awesome product we found at our trendy trailer, shout out to them, down in Folsom. We were walking through their store one day, and I am a fan of really any male shower grooming products, period. I wish I had a full head of hair that I could get different, mousses and gels and all that. And so I came across this. They have a salt clay spray, they have a beard oil, and then they have a basically a forming wax that you can kind of use. I use the green one, the firm clay, and it's fantastic. It's an all natural product. They're a great company, really good people that have kind of started this whole thing up, and they're up and comers. So if you have any interest in hair care product and or beard care specifically, their oil and their forming clays on there are fantastic. So head over to brightsidestyle.com. Check them out. You can see all their products there, and they have many more in the works coming up. Thank you, Brightside. All right, team, we're going to get in here with our first TOA live stream. This is episode number 1. We will be coming to you live on the 1st, the 3rd, and the 4th Monday of every month via the magic of Zoom and YouTube. On the 2nd Monday of every month, we will be connecting in here via our TOA select membership. So that'll be an in-house presentation. If you are a member, you'll be joining us there, be able to watch the recordings and everything along there as well. We are going to get into this little mini series that's kind of nicknamed like the Bulletproofing the Aging Body series here. And we're going to start off with the lower back today. And then next week, we'll get into the hip / the butt, and then we'll get into knees and shins, and we'll kind of work our way through the body. In each one of these sessions, our goal is to do a little breakdown of the anatomy. We want to showcase what the issues are with this area in particular and its application to the aging body, not necessarily for sports performance or anything along those lines. It's really specific towards, as our bodies age, what starts to happen in this particular joint or muscle group, and how can we kind of combat those things as we go. Then we're going to look into the research as to what is being practiced and what is kind of ideal for the lower back, and in like the most recent information, what is the most applicable. And then we'll give you some examples of some videos and some exercises. We have some very attractive models that are going to be featured in some of the videos here, hint, hint. So you'll get to see them here in just a few moments. All right, we're going to start off with the lower back and the breakdown here of the anatomy. Our, I guess I'd say our first focused muscle group, or the one that I feel like is probably the most important, is the QL, the quadratus laborum. And the QL it's called that because it's kind of a four-cornered angle. It's like a little rectangle in there. And you'll see it just along the right aspect of that picture, right along the iliac crest there. And it kind of stems up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as it kind of reaches its way up towards the lower rib. And its job is to do lateral flexion and stabilization. So you're lateral flexing to one side, stabilization in the back extension, etc. It has some partners in there as well, the iliacus and the psoas muscle. And the iliac muscle connecting with the psoas muscle is what was more commonly known as the iliopsoas. The iliopsoas, along with other erectors of the spine, the multifidus, the longissimus, and the spinalis, all make up all these fancy words for all the spine stabilizers, the extensors of the spine, and they're very active when we're carrying load, when you're holding proper postures, when you're doing any kind of multi-direction or any type of rotation about the spine. And all the erectors are pretty well, I mean, yes, they have ranges of motion that they are going to work through, but the iliopsoas and the QL, quadratus liberum, are the two that probably get quote unquote hurt or injured the most. And those are the ones that we really want to address by building in stronger hip flexors, but also, and more pliable hip flexors, but also lateral flexing strength and stabilization. So this is where a lot of your windmill type movements, your single-sided loaded carries, suitcase carries, are all going to come in, and we'll talk about those here shortly. To showcase the issue here, you have general strains. A quote-unquote throw out of the back is kind of a severe strain. And what really happens when somebody quote-unquote throws out their back is, if you can imagine a muscle is hanging from like a spider web, okay? And each end of the muscle has one string. Like, remember Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible? He lowers down from the ceiling, right? And he's like hanging there, suspended by the ropes. Imagine that. And each one of those ropes, let's say there's 4 of them, has a responsibility. It has to hold 25% of Tom Cruise's weight. I know in the movie there's only 1, but just go with me on the 4 here for the example. If I am to reach or stretch or reach beyond a range of motion that my body is normally used to doing, those fibers in that one wire are going to strain and they're going to slightly tear. And when that happens, that muscle, that 25% responsible muscle, is not doing its job. And so the other 3 have to pick up the slack. And that one that has now been damaged, it's going to swell and it's going to get aggravated and it's going to irritate and it's going to pull things out of alignment. But this doesn't happen instantly. You might feel it in the moment and be like, ooh, that didn't feel right. But lower back injuries are very residual, meaning it's slowly going to swell, it's slowly going to aggravate, and things are just going to get worse and worse and worse in most cases. Sometimes it's so severe, and this would be more of like the herniation or the ruptured disc, where you're like, oh, I'm hurt, and you're stuck. And that's when you're like, I'm in bad shape. You just jumped off a roof, and when you landed on your feet, you know, your discs all compounded, like compacted together, and one blew out. And all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I am damaged, I am hurt. Where the other one, I'm reaching over, you know, a chair to grab my water bottle on the other side, and ooh, I feel this little strain in my back. Well, what happened is that one wire now got strained. The other 3 have to do more work. So the potential for your lower back to get more aggravated or more injured is quite high, because each string is only supposed to be doing 25%. Now they have to do 33% because the other one's out of the ballgame. And so now your back is more vulnerable and it's already currently injured. And the QL is very responsive to that. This is one of those muscles that when you get out of alignment and that strain occurs, it'll react, it'll swell, it'll get super aggravated. And that one's basically on more the posterior side of the back. The iliopsoas muscle runs through the front of your hip and down. It's a hip flexor. So you've got the iliacus muscle that's kind of on the inside of the hip flexor and the inside of the pelvis. And the psoas muscle that also originates just above that, they both kind of reach out together and they make one giant muscle tendon that goes through the front of the hip, through a little foramen, a little hole in the front of the hip, and it inserts just at the top of the femur. And its job is to pull your leg up towards your chest in hip flexion. When this one is really, really overdeveloped or overmuscular, it pulls on the lumbar, 3, 4, and 5, where it originates from, and it can cause displacement. So between these two, overly strong hip flexors or overly weak or odd angled QL muscles, these two musculatures are the ones that are pretty much mostly responsible for the lower back getting tweaked, getting aggravated, and or out of alignment, And as we continue to do that over and over and over and over again, we're talking years, if not decades. We kind of consistently use a copper wire as an example with the lower back, with the discs in the vertebrae, that you could have a copper wire and you bend it all the way over 90 degrees, and then you straighten it back out, and it doesn't look like a whole lot of damage was done. It looks fine, and you can bend it again and straighten it back out, and bend it again and straighten it back out, and you can continue to do that over and over again until one time when you bend it, it snaps in half. And that's kind of the way the lower back works too, is yes, you've got these little warning signs, these little warning signals that come out, little tweaks, little pains here and there, but in a day or two, you're fine. And that's going to continue to happen over and over again unless you start to bulletproof your lower back. And so we want to avoid herniations, ruptures. Obviously, this is where, hey, relax. This is where we start to see so much vertical compression, axial loading compression down on the vertebrae. They start to smush the disc together, and that disc has to go somewhere. Imagine a jelly donut. My hand's on top of it, and it's sitting on the countertop. And I start to push down. That jelly's got to go somewhere. It's going to squirt out somewhere. Well, it's going to squirt out where the walls are most thin or where it's most vulnerable, and that's typically done by whichever rotation or flexion or movement that you do over and over and over again and abuse it. And so eventually that crab meat, quote unquote, as my doctor called it, is going to start to push out and protrude. And then if that ruptures and blows open, it's not going back in. That's when you need surgical intervention. And surgical intervention is also known as a just went blank. What did I have done? My L5S1?
Discectomy?
Yes, thank you. A discectomy, thank you. Geez, my brain just went blank because I was worried about him getting out. A discectomy, where they will kind of go in. There's great videos of this online. I can only watch the cartoon versions of it because the real versions kind of ick me out. But basically, they carve a hole in your vertebrae, in your lower back or wherever the disc issue has occurred. And they have this little hockey puck little thing that kind of goes in there, and it chews up all the material that's squirted out. And then they kind of burn or sew it and stitch it back shut, and then you're all good. They remove the materials that are causing the symptoms, but they don't actually fix the problem. Fixing the problem would then require either a disc replacement or a fusion. And when you get to those, we're really starting to kind of tread into areas of severe lower back, chronic issues that you need, some pretty drastic personalized help with. So outside of this discussion, just us kind of throwing our backs out here and there, obviously anything more you would need to discuss further. Now, as we look at the research about this, a couple of really new, not really new, but more recent research, yes, but new approaches on this is, number one, should we be less active if we have lower back injuries? And a common approach to this is let's lay down, let's put our feet up, let's ice, let's take some meds, whatever it is, and lay on the couch for 3 days. The other approach is let's do movement up to the point of tolerance of aggravation. Meaning, if you can walk, go walk. If you could squat or lunge, you should squat or lunge. If you could do step-ups, if you can get up and down off the floor, basically whatever you can do to tolerance. If I can go walk and I can tolerate that, let's do it. But if I take too big a step, or if I walk uphill, I get a trigger in my back, or I get sciatic symptoms down my leg, well, I know that's too much. Now I'm starting to tolerate discomfort. I want to go one step back from this. And that's what this article in particular looked at, a network meta-analysis of, I think it was 11 or 12 different research articles, if I'm remembering correctly, where they looked at individuals with chronic lower back pain and asked them to just go and walk regularly, 30 to 60 minutes. I think most of them were 60 minutes on a regular basis. And this low-key activity basically took and reduced their lower back discomfort by around 20 to 23, 25, somewhere around in there, depending on the article you looked at. This one in particular was 23% in reduction of lower back pain, LBP. Now, if you can introduce resistance training into that as well, where we're talking just basic resistance training, push, a pull, a hinge, a squat, a carry, and a twist. Something along those lines. Careful with the twisting in the beginning. Focus mostly on posterior chain, 2 to 3 times a week for 20 to 30 minutes. You start to see some really great gains as well. And then if we can get stronger hamstrings and glutes, And one of my clients asking me today, every time we train our hips and our glutes, I put bands on their knees and they do abductions and they do lateral walks and they do monster slides and we do all these glute bridges, feet elevated, all that. He goes, why does my back feel so much better for like a day or two? And then the discomfort starts to come back again. I said, because we're training the musculature that supports your back. The stronger your butt, the less your back has to take over. Back to the Tom Cruise 4 suspended wires. Basically, if you get really strong glutes and you start to build that musculature around the base of the iliac crest of the spine, then you add like an extra wire or two. And so now 25% of each one gets distributed out. So like 20 or even 18% for each. And so we're spreading the love here, if you will. The stronger your hamstrings, the stronger your glutes, the better your low back is going to be. And if we can do that and increase mobility through the hips, we talked about that iliopsoas muscle being more pliable, all of this in combination will produce a much healthier back. Now, just this article in particular addressed only walking, okay, just walking up to 60 minutes a day, reduced lower back pain by 23%. A couple of things occurred when that happens. You get high step counts, which is very zone 1, zone 2-ish, ideally zone 2. So you're going to burn some body fat, ideally while maintaining muscle mass. You're going to get a good cardiovascular response. You're going to get a fatigue component to this where you're going to start to feel tired and your body is going to learn how to give this output of energy and effort every day, thus asking you to recover when you shut it down for the evening to go to sleep. So not only are you going to be tired and wanting to go to sleep in the evening, you're probably going to sleep better, which gives you more recovery, which allows your lower back to recover. But also while doing the walking steps at a tolerable gait and tempo, etc., your lower back is going to become more pliable through flexibility in a range that is controlled, meaning you're not exceeding a range that then aggravates it again. Think of your lower back like your eye. If you hurt your eye and just leave it alone and just let it be, you can't just shut your eye down and be like, not going to use the eye for the rest of the day. I could close it, I could put a patch, but when I move my eyes are going to move. They have to stay active. Very similar with the lower back. But every time I touch the eye, it's going to get aggravated again, aggravated every time you touch it. So stop touching it. That's the point of this, is quit doing the things that aggravate your back, but continue to use it in areas that are not aggravating. So let's walk this all the way back to the most simple locomotive movement, just walking, just contralateral walking. That means opposite arm, opposite leg, right, while you walk. And do that in a tolerable way. You're going to reduce load, ideally, as you continue to walk, by burning off adipose tissue. You're going to maintain, at least, keeping your muscle mass that you have. And you're going to be able to recover and sleep better while keeping range of motion that's comfortable. So simply walking every day can help reduce your lower back discomfort by about a quarter, okay, 25% or so. And then we add in those other pieces, resistance training, okay, the posterior focus, the stronger glutes, the more mobile hips, etc. We're going to have even greater opportunities, okay, to increase our lower back quality of life, if you will. Now, let's look at some of these bulletproofing movements that we like to do. Let's start with some mobility exercises. Number one is a windmill, and there are multiple different windmills that we can choose from. However, the one that I like the most is the half kneeling windmill. I would like to shout out how glorious and how flexible and how muscular our model is here. She does exceptionally good work. This is, again, my favorite one. One of my mobilities that I have to every day do is this one. If I don't do this, I'm going to have issues with my lower back for sure. So the half kneeling windmill component to this, when we get into this half kneeling position, notice Keagan's foot in the back. Her back foot is not in an exact straight line back from her hip. It's actually pivoted in a little bit, which is exactly what you want. When we, sorry for the butt shot, everybody, but I want to show you, let me show you what I'm talking about here. Okay. When you walk or run, your midline down the center of your glute, your foot doesn't go out to the side. Your foot goes right down the center. Your medial meniscus is actually quite a bit shorter than your lateral meniscus, which means the knee pivots, it swivels in. It doesn't swivel straight back, it swivels in. For it to go straight back, I have to actually turn my foot. I have to turn my leg in to get my leg to go straight back. If I simply just flex it, it goes towards my midline, okay? Your medial aspect, right down the center of your butt, basically, is where your heel goes to. So when you're naturally walking, that inward pivot of the knee goes towards that midline. So when you're in the half kneeling position, if I point my legs straight back and try to hinge over, I'm actually fighting my own mechanics to do that. I'm impinging, I'm internally rotating and then forward flexing into my joint, into that joint, probably causing more discomfort than comfort. So what we do to avoid this is you simply pivot your foot off to the side. I actually put it on the opposite, what we call railroad track. If I'm left track, right track, I put my right foot on the left track. And that allows me now, as I pivot and hinge here, it allows better pliability, better side flexion angle position for me to get into. Okay? So from that position, we want to do something called deloading. Okay? Let me go back to this so we can show you. Keagan is in a full deload in this position. And that means all of her weight is down on her hand, all of it. She's putting all of her weight down on that hand so the QL can relax. If you just barely touch your hand down there, your lower back, I always use this analogy, like I'm reaching out a window to grab the air conditioning unit on the outside and then lift it up and then I set it in the window, right? As opposed to going outside and picking it up properly, like you're putting yourself in this extended outreaching position. And all those musculatures in your lower back are heavily stressed. And when we look at like angle of pull for the lower back, just like the quadricep, like you got to go over the top. Your back has to go over the top of the spine and reach out. It's a really vulnerable position. So when you hinge over, if she just barely touches her hand down and just kind of like taps her fingers on the ground, her lower back is completely exposed, holding all of her body weight in this really vulnerable position. But then when she puts her hand down and puts all her weight down on it, and the muscles in the lower back, QL especially, get like this relaxed moment, and then she can rotate up into this high trunk turn position. Look at that flexibility right there, so good. With her hand at about 45 degrees angle on the floor, she gets this great rotation, deloaded, relaxed stretch of rectus abdominis, transverse abdominis, internal oblique, external oblique, the QL, the multifidus, the spine, all those musculatures, all of them, plus her glute max, medius, minimus, hamstring, even on that high leg, adductors on the inside floor leg, like all of them are stretching, but working through a passive range of motion because she's deloaded, okay? Now, if she moves her hand, this is her left hand, she puts her left hand 2 or 3 inches closer to her front right leg, that's gonna increase a greater stretch. As she's shortening that cycle, she's pulling that musculature in closer. So really like the 45-degree angle is where we'd want to start. And then you can gradually start to move your hand in closer. And that's going to create a greater length stretch on all that musculature we just talked about around the trunk and the spine, but specifically the QL. Now she's deloaded. She's got this good twist. She returns it back to the floor, both hands now loaded. And then she's going to repeat that like good morning, single leg good morning hinge back up, which again gives us an opportunity to stress the lower back in a good, safe way, deload it, stretch it, and then actively return it. So not only are we building pliability, mobility, but we're also building some strength in a vulnerable position that we get up and down from all the time, okay? Any comments on that or?
No.
You good, okay.
I was just admiring my flexibility.
Yeah, it's a really good flexibility, and that's why I wanted to use this video, because like I do it okay, but the rotation, the mobility you have in here is really, really good. And in the beginning, like I could get my arm up to just above, let's call it 90 degrees, maybe 100. I can get to like 180, 190 now. It took a long time for me to get there. But if I'm in just a regular windmill, hands and knees on the floor, and I'm turning both knees on the ground, maybe I get to 90 degrees, maybe 100. Like I do not have the thoracic mobility. I have much better hip mobility. And that's where this exercise in particular kind of addresses both, okay? Now you can move on to bird dogs. This is another good one to bulletproof the lower back. Alternating arm, alternating leg. You can do that standing, or you can do it from the 6-point position. These are all libraried in great detail, like I just did on this one exercise for the windmill, all in TOA Select. Mind you, right now, $69 a month if you go over to TOA, trainingtheolderadult.com. Use promo code Keagan is amazing, and you'll get it for $69. I'm kidding, that's the price. That's what we have going on right now, but Keagan is amazing. So standing bird dogs and or 6-point. 6-point means you're down on the ground, 2 hands, 2 knees, 2 toes. And we give you full detailed explanation on how to do all those. Cues, progressions, regressions, common mistakes, all that good stuff, okay? And then into mini band bridges, band above the knees, and we can bridge on the floor, just a regular what we call a flat bridge, or a foot elevated bridge. When you elevate the feet, you are going to get a greater range of motion, but you're also going to put a little bit more stress up on the thoracic spine, the back of the neck, etc. So just be careful, make sure people are ready to do that. So by doing the windmill, we're going to get that lateral flexion, let's call it a 45-degree angle lateral flexion, range of motion mobility that we know is pretty vulnerable. By working the bird dogs, we're going to get more of a sagittal alternating, what we call like a contralateral, opposite arm, opposite leg, crisscrossing action across the lower back that's going to get those stronger and the same muscle activation we do when we walk. Okay, when you do a contralateral walk, just a regular walk, Key, go ahead and stand up here for me real quick. You're a much better looking model than I am, especially with your awesome shoes on. And just walk away from us, but really, really slowly. And take a step, stop. Okay, so when she does this, right leg is forward, her left hand swings forward. And then when she takes another step, it's the opposite, left foot, right hand, and then opposite. And so that's contralateral walking, right? We don't walk ipsilateral. That would look goofy, right? Like we don't walk that way. It's really hard to balance that way. So when we're doing this, opposite arm, opposite leg, when you take these walking steps like that, that same musculature, yeah, just come to me. That same musculature, when she walks, take a step and freeze, freeze. So from right here, her musculature on this upper left corner is active all the way down across her lower back to this glute, all the way down to this hamstring, down to her Achilles, plantar flexing into the floor. And then when she takes the next step, step and freeze, now this guy is active. Now go again. And then this guy is active. And then this guy is active. And it just keeps crossing like that with every step that she takes. When you do a bird dog, it's the exact same thing. It's just done this way, right? So we don't have vertical axial pressure. We are horizontally set, and then you're alternating, right, doing your bird dogs. So that posterior chain activation is great range. It's heavily focused. And because it's just body weight, pretty much everybody can do it, either standing and or on the ground. So I could make the argument that the better you get at doing a bird dog, the better your posture and your gait will be. Just simply by continuing to train and develop the strength of that cross-sectional movement pattern on the posterior side of the body, even in that prone position on the floor or the 6-point position on the floor. So we're getting better mobility on angles, windmill, better mobility when we walk forward and back, gait. And now we're going to build that glute strength around the hip. But the reason that we need the mini band is it's really difficult to get your to get your gluteus medius and your gluteus minimus to activate with just pure hip extension. You really need something to push your knees against to activate those additional 2 glutes. Yes, granted, they all will activate when you do a bridge, but do they get the emphasis, let's call it the equal 33% across? I would venture to say, I don't know these numbers exactly, I'm just giving examples, that when you do just a regular body weight bridge, your glute max is doing 70% of the work, and the other 2 are doing 15%. And so the glute max gets heavily developed. And that's why most of us, when you look at somebody from behind, if they are wearing short shorts or whatnot, you'd see like big glute max, and then there's like 2 little dents on each side of their hip because their glute medius and minimus aren't really developed out enough to like make like a pumpkin kind of butt looking. Instead, you get like 2 little in lamps, right? Mine are like heavily. You have it. What are you talking about?
I'm saying I need less.
You don't want less. No, everybody wants a Kardashian butt. She has one and she doesn't want it. All the rest of us are sitting here with like our little no buns Bobby butts. And we're like, I would love to have this big muscular ass and I don't have it. I've been working my ass off, literally trying to get it. Maybe I'm doing too much. It's going the wrong way. It's getting smaller, not bigger. All jokes aside, you want these bands on to be able to get those other 2 musculatures to fill in that little divot on each side. The stronger we get there, the stronger you get those 2 musculatures, and the glute max, of course, as well. But the more you fill that in, the better the lower back is going to function because you have more musculature bulletproofing around the hip joint itself. Now, when lateral movements, lateral steps, quick steps, push-offs, anything where you trip on a dog, on your own shoelace, whatever it is, and you take that quick step out to the side, those are the musculatures that move that leg and stabilize that leg. And so this is an area of atrophy that we see in aging bodies. And as they start to atrophy at the glutes, they can only now go sagittal. They can only go forward. And the second they get out from side to side, they wobble, they fall down. Okay, and that's why we want this lateral flexion ability, this sagittal strength gait, and the strong bulletproofing glutes around the hip to help us in all of these directions. Now let's wrap this up here with some of our favorite exercises. The lower back itself, specific in the stiff leg deadlift variations, responds very, very well to being held in, let's call it an isometric, from L5 up, an isometric position where the lower back is not going to move. It will be active in motion, but it's not going to be pliably flexed or extended. The back is just going to try to lock in place while performing a kickstand deadlift, stiff leg deadlift, also known as RDLs, Romanian deadlifts. We will use those terms interchangeably. So a kickstand RDL or a single leg RDL, okay, where the rear leg is coming off the ground and you're in like that teapot, capital T position at the top. From there, the kickstand component can be progressed into sit to stands and or holding onto a band from above, a deloaded squat that will increase range of motion about the hip, but also build some more quad. And if you squat deep enough or sit to stand deep enough, some glute strength. And then if we add a suitcase carry in, which is ideal for getting really, really strong lower backs versus the farmer carry where you have a weight in each hand, the suitcase carry is a weight in one hand and nothing in the other. And so you're going to see probably my favorite model, no offense, love, but my favorite model of all time, my dad, performing a kickstand pickup plus a suitcase carry plus a kickstand set down. Then he changes direction, works on his gait variations, kickstands the feet, proper hinge pickup, suitcase carry going across, working on that gait and trying to work that heel to toe positioning. We gave him targets of where he was supposed to walk to, how many steps we want him to try to get, what hand goes with which foot. There's a cognitive component to this big time, and him working on transitioning this implement from each side of the room, properly picking it up, properly putting it down. But you also see the struggle of a 30-pound weight in one hand being carried, how much work he has to put in to stay on his feet, to not get pulled over to one side. Now, when he goes to walk, just naturally after performing this, all that musculature engaged to keep him upright, to keep him in this proper alignment while he's walking, it's all fired up, it's all on. And so he would walk really, really well for like the next day or two. And then he would kind of return to regular life, sitting down a lot, kind of just being a little bit more inactive as the week would carry on. And then he would come back and we would have to kind of restart. And every week that I got to see him, every Wednesday when we came in, we would do all these lifts and all these exercises. And every week, let's say 3 steps were taken forward on the scale of him getting better. By the time I saw him, he had regressed 2 of those 3 steps. And then we would train again and he'd take 3 more steps forward and 2 back, 3 more forward, 2 back. And slowly, 1 day a week for an hour, he slowly built his way up to the point where he was quite capable of overcoming his lower back pain, but improving his overall performance of all of his daily life activities. Sit to stands, transferring, carrying loads, right? Moving about up and down stairs, huge improvement. He was a disaster. I was like, Dad's going to die on these stairs. This is going to be his downfall. And by the day that he died, he had a heart attack that took his life. He was ascending and descending those stairs like a 30-year-old. I mean, he just ran up and down them. He had it down. He was doing great. And so the ability to build back, to improve a quality of ability that somebody even younger than a 78-year-old, he was quite capable of that 1 day a week with walking on a regular basis, resistance training like this. I just want to kind of sell the point to you, like, this doesn't have to be this massive life change. It can be, it doesn't have to be, but small little incremental efforts here and there really carry over and do a lot. Then Dad started doing homework on other days, and we're talking 5-6 minutes of stuff every other day, not a ton, but sit to stands and band pulls, chest pulls, etc., to build his backside and to ascend and descend the stairs as often as he could. It became kind of a habit, a part of life for him that he looked forward to performing. He felt stronger, he felt better because he did them on the regular. And that's what I would try to send you home with after this one here. And I'm happy if there's any questions, please feel free to let me know. is that we want individuals with lower back limitations to obviously not have flare-ups, but we need to find that range of tolerance that they can improve their mobility, stability, ability, their strength, their coordination, all of these things to whatever they can tolerate. And then you keep doing that until progress is made. But to simply stop and just go, I have a bad back, I'm just going to lay down, I'm just going to sit, I'm not going to do this is not going to help the situation. Maybe in the immediate moment when you just hurt yourself, to relax and not push it, I would say is fine. But ultimately, we're going to have to build you out of this injury. You're not going to just be able to sit and wait and it's going to heal up on its own. Lower backs are not that way. We have too much life to live. We have too much abilities of what we're doing on a regular basis to simply just sit and wait for it. It's like rib injuries and hamstring injuries. We breathe and we move and we walk so much. These areas are really hard to heal because ideally, if you could just not move it and sleep for 3 days and allow everything to heal back up and then start rehab, I think that would probably be a decent approach. But we have life still going on. You have to breathe, you have to stand, you have to move about. And when doing that, these little areas that get aggravated, it's like tearing the scab off. And healing is occurring underneath, but now we got to almost start all over again. And then you form a new scab and then we tear it off again. The lower back is very similar. Every time you overreach, overlift, over squat in depth, you get out of alignment, you tuck your butt, you do one too many kettlebell swings in an improper position or whatever it might be, you're ripping that scab off and the damage has been done. Now we got to rebuild and we got to do it a little bit better than last time, a little bit smarter than last time. Last thing to take away here before we do any questions. Are there any questions? No. Nothing yet? Okay, good. Day one, starting off here with TOA Lives and our live streams. Hopefully we'll get some more folks that get to watch us live and interact with us. Last thing to take from this is when you hurt yourself, okay, let's say you're, same example we've been using, I reached over a bench, I felt that tweak in my back. What do I want to do in that moment? What do we want to do from right in that moment immediately to help this lower back issue? First thing you want to recognize is you just hurt yourself. And no amount of stretching or moving or twisting and popping and manipulate is going to make it any better. The strain has occurred. The laces, the wires that were in there, they just tore. You can't mobilize them back together again. It's damaged. It's hurt. What you can do is make that worse by continuing to move. You hurt your eye and you're like, my eye, and you just keep rubbing it. Yeah, it's hurt. You're making it worse. Quit messing with it. Same thing with the lower back. We get people who hurt themselves and they'll want to sit down. I'm just going to stretch for the next 20 minutes. That's just going to continue to get worse. Every time you stretch it, more little fibers are going to tear. More little fibers are going to tear. It's just going to keep happening. So stop. Don't do anything. Call it a day. You've just hurt yourself. I would, if you're a medicine person, whatever kind of meds, anti-inflammatory, whatever it is, if you want to take something like that, obviously talk to your doctor first, but that's a good line to start with to initiate the healing process. Ice, I'm a big fan of, even though there's plenty of research out there to suggest that ice doesn't do anything in the healing process. Some says it does in the first 48 to 72 hours. That's all debatable. I totally get it. And I find validity in both pieces of research. However, I think by numbing an area that's injured and slowing down blood flow into that area, not only mentally, but physically, I think you're creating an opportunity for that area to heal. You're asking individuals not to move while that ice is being applied. So that's going to aid in the process. And then even if it is a placebo effect that I'm icing and I'm healing, making things better, placebo effect has had up to like 16 or 18% effectiveness. I'll take it. I'll take that extra 16, 18% on top of everything else I'm doing to help heal up my back. I'm good with that. And in that moment now, we're going to ice, we're going to lay down, we're going to relax. If you can elevate your feet, that'd be great. A little bit of flexion under the knees. It just takes pressure off the lower back. A pillow or two. Just lay flat and just relax and just hang out. Lay there for 10, 15, 20 minutes. If it's in the gym or you can get home and then lay down and relax. And now the healing process has begun. And so here's what happens. You make it through that day. You get up the next morning and you're like, oh, my back doesn't feel so bad. And you bend over and you try to touch your toes. And what did you just do? You just ripped off the scab, right? And now we're pretty much back to where you just started. Oh yeah, that hurts still. Yeah, you have this great healing process going. And then you just pretty much started it all over again. So you got to just leave it alone for 2 to 3 days. That doesn't mean you can't go walk. It doesn't mean you can't do things with tolerance. Remember we talked about with tolerance. So walking, if you're able to do it, go walk a little bit and then come back and relax and take a couple little walks here and there. If you walk and it hurts, you're not ready for it yet, lay back down. And I think the supine position with your knees flexed and or possibly elevated is probably the safest bet position for most. There are plenty of folks who don't like being on their back or you can't sleep that way, I get it. But do your best to be in that position. That's probably going to be the best spot for you. 2 to 3 days and then slowly start to rebuild basic movement patterns until you start to feel capable, strong again. And then what do we learn from that moving forward is we did something wrong. And usually it's not just, I did everything right, one thing wrong and I'm hurt. It's usually a whole bunch of small collections, small movements that you've done out of alignment. And you'll see this a lot when you're cutting and moving wood, or you're cleaning out the garage, or you're cleaning the gym and we're moving all the weights to one side and moving them all back. It's a whole bunch of hinges that are done just out of alignment or just in a hurry, just enough to slowly start to aggravate, and eventually, whoosh, there it goes. So you want to recognize this and go, if I take an extra second and just make sure with each hinge, I'm lining up in a better position and picking each implement up, and as I do it, just take one extra second to just make sure your alignments are good. 95% of the time, you're going to continue to be in good spots and you won't get injured. So you have to learn that as you go through these experiences, unfortunately, the hard way. And even now, I'll be running around, I'm trying to get equipment set up for clients, and I'll reach and grab something, and oh man, my back. I knew I shouldn't have done that. And yet we're in the moment, and we're just trying to act and do, and you think, I'm strong enough, I can do it. We're always going to be vulnerable to this. Now that you've got an injury, an established injury, you're always going to be vulnerable to that. So you've got to continue to keep that in the back of your mind. This is an area that we need to protect. Obviously, this is something that I can rant and talk about forever because it's an area, a chronic injury that I've been battling my whole life. Surgeries and steroid shots and belts and all kinds of different therapies and cupping and dry needling and everything else you can think of that we've done to try to improve lower back quality. I've done it. And I think there's a lot to take away from those is that everybody's going to have a different approach on how to heal up and how to overcome. But this is going to be the foundation, the bricks, if you will, that helps start that rebuilding, that bulletproofing of your lower back. Try those mobilities, work in some of those exercises, see how things start to feel, and make sure you are getting in your walks every other day to every day. Our ultimate goal, 225 minutes per week of activity. That's 32 minutes a day, every day. That is our goal. Comments, questions? Feel free to let me know. If not, I think we're going to wrap. Anything from you, Mrs. Linkle?
No questions. Jean commented that. She said it was such good, clear info. Thanks.
Oh, my pleasure, Jean. Thank you. Thank you for being on here. Please share this out if you have anybody in your life that has lower back issues. I am certain you know someone because it is the most common injury worldwide is lower back injuries. Please share this out. There's a reason we did this, number one, is because we want this to be the one that everybody shares out because it's the most common injury that individuals have. And almost everybody can relate to this and go, oh yeah, I've thrown my back out at least once. This is something that drastically affects your quality of life. When you throw your back out, everything is miserable, everything sucks, everything slows down. So this is an area we really want people to be educated with. So please share the information out. Please subscribe, like the video, comment below. All that stuff helps boost the algorithm and views and eyes that we get on it. Again, I'm no YouTube expert, but we'd love to get more eyes on our information. Head over to trainingtheolderadult.com. Check out Select, our certification, our exercise libraries, all of our assessments, all the education that I do, all the deep dives, all the information we have in there, everything. $69 a month. It's a year-long commitment, which takes our, $800+ certification and makes it very affordable for people, especially trainers just starting off. You don't have $800 to drop one time, so we basically let you pay it out over a year, making this accessible information. TOA Select is a giant search engine for whatever you are doing with your older adults. Lower back, shoulder issue, etc., whatever it is, you put it in the search engine, you'll find information. And yes, we have CEUs attached to that as well. NSCA 2.0, or is it 2.4? What do we get? 2.0 CEUs for this year. TOA Live coming up November 7, 8, 8, 9. 7, 8. November 7th and 8th here in Sacramento, California, live or virtual. We have that coming up. And I think that's about it. For our Fit Body folks out there, I will be seeing you at World Conference next week. For our Can Fit Pro folks out there, I'll be seeing you Toronto in 2 weeks. Can't wait for both of those events. Very, very excited for that. And then for all of our TOA folks, we'll see you obviously every Monday here in Select, and we will see you for TOA Live in October. Any final comments, questions, suggestions?
Just the second. Next week is the first Monday of the month. So we will not be doing, since it's only our second one here, it will not be in Select. Next Monday we'll be here.
Correct.
And then the Monday after the second Monday will be inside Select.
We will be inside Select. So next week, right back here, we're good. The week after, we're in Select, and we're going to go way deeper than we just went on this one.
And I'd like to hear from people too on the setup of this. Would you rather just listen to Rob, or is the PowerPoint helpful? I think that would be a good thing to know. And also more conversational-like or more lecture-like. I want to hear the feedback.
Very good points. Yeah, we want to mold this to be what most of you want.
Yeah,
and
this is for you.
Yeah, this is for you. And I like to, I'm a dork, so I like to have my slides presented and all that stuff up there, the visuals, the talking points. But if we do better like this, where we just have discussions and talk about it, and I do some demos, by all means, we can do that too. Definitely going to have Keagan on here more than just the voice off camera, but have her on camera with us maybe once a month, get her on here. She's got tons of great info. We've got an awesome newsletter coming up next week. Some really good talking points there on multivitamins and supplements. And should we be using those? Or maybe we just got all that natural if we can, and the evolution of man and woman and how we've kind of got to this point. And, supplements, where do they fit and where do they not in our day-to-day life? That's coming up in our next newsletter. We got all kinds of good stuff coming out your way. So make sure you're subscribed. Don't miss a thing. We appreciate you all. Thank you for joining us. Please share, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. And until next time,